Welcome to HDTV. You're now rocking with your boy. Blast from the Past Part 3. I believe this is Part Trace. Phil Jackson says he would pick Bill Russell to start his team and would flip a coin to decide between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Now, this is republished because Phil talked about this a long time ago. Phil Jackson must know a thing or two about winning championships, since he's one of the greatest coaches of all time after winning 11 titles coaching the Chicago Bulls, with 6, and the Los Angeles Lakers, which he won 5. The Zen Master led some of the best players in history to the promised land, so his voice matters a lot when it comes to basketball-related topics. The promised land, like he freed black folks. Back in 2013, Jackson was asked what player he picked to start a team, and out of the players in NBA history, he went with Bill Russell. Asked by Time Magazine in 2013, Jackson selected Russell, who won 11 championships as a player over his two biggest figures, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. Jackson believes that the fact that Russell was so successful during his days as a player gives him an advantage over any other player. Moreover, he opted for an interesting option when he was asked to pick between Jordan and Bryant. So if you were starting a team from scratch and it was a team in a moment, and you can have any player in history, who would be your very first pick? Phil Jackson responded, in my estimation, the guy that has to be there is Bill Russell, who won 11 championships as a player. I think that's the idea of what excellence is when you win championships. So Bill, then, between Kobe and MJ, who would you choose? Phil Jackson said, I do a coin flip, and whichever one came up heads or tails, I would take that person. If Phil Jackson can't decide between Kobe and Michael, imagine how difficult that decision could be for the rest of us. He tried to make things easier picking Russell, but that wasn't, and it's never going to be easy. Jackson led Jordan and Bryant to be great, and this definitely wasn't the best decision for him. So here's a video of Phil Jackson speaking about it.
And it was a team that was in the moment, and you could have any player in history at, who would be your very first pick?
In my estimation, the guy that has to be there would be Bill Russell. He's won 11 championships as a player. I think that's really the idea of what excellence is when you win championships.
So Bill Russell, and then if you had to choose between Kobe and Michael, who would you choose?
I would flip a coin, and whichever one came up, heads or tails, I would take that person. They're that good.
So he's basically telling you that the comparisons or picking either Kobe or Michael is nothing wrong with it. And I don't know why basketball fans get mad. The first thing Jordan fans will say, Kobe took everything from Michael. The second thing that the Kobe fans will say is that, well, Kobe dropped 81. And not only that, Kobe didn't have a squeaky clean career. He got accused. We all know what he got accused of. And that put a slight on his career in everybody's mind. And then Michael Jordan, he was hated. He was basically said that it was reported in 92 or 93 that his gambling was the reason for his father's death. The media tried to blame him for it. And this was national televised news. I was a kid watching it with my dad and my mom, and my dad was talking about how they're just screwing Jordan over trying to blame that his dad death on his gambling, which was ludicrous. Which was just far from it. And I'm not a Michael fan. I'm not a Michael Jordan fan, but that was very, very low for the media to go there to accuse him of being involved with the death of his father. That's just ludicrous. But these are some things also that I feel needs to be looked at as well. Bill Russell gets torn down and slighted because the era he played in, I believe they had 13 teams, 11 or 13 teams. Whoever comments on the video, let me know how many teams it was. I believe it was 11 or 13. I could look it up right now. I don't feel like it. So I think it'll be 11 or 13 teams. And he dominated. And I think the last 2 or 3 championships, I may be wrong, it may have been just 1 or 2, but I think it was 3, where he was the head coach plus the player. He was making his own subs and putting people in position to win the game. And that showed his versatility. And I think he gets dinged for it because he didn't really have a lot of big men back in the day, which is the knock on him. But to me, you guys give LeBrownies all this love and credit in this era where he's putting up all these ridiculous numbers and stuff, but he's losing. This guy put up triple doubles damn near, and he had a low scoring total. He was scoring in the teens. He was doing what Dennis Rodman did for the Bulls in the 90s and the Pistons in the late 80s. He was rebounding, he was defending, he was getting in position. Now, the only difference is Bill Russell, I would always put Bill Russell over Rodman, but not in my 5, but I would always have him in a consensus top 10. I would put him over Dennis Rodman because of all the leadership and all the things he had to deal with. You know, Rodman wasn't a leader. Rodman was a guy that you put in there and he held it down. And he got rebounds. He boxed people out. He got in their head mentally on the other end. And they weren't able to score or even take Rodman a lot of times off the dribble. Because Rodman was just so stifling. And what he did to Shaquille O'Neal, that's when I said, man, Rodman is the best defender of the 90s. He was the greatest defender of the 90s. There was nobody better. He was the best rebounder of the 90s. He was the better rebounder. He could pass when he wanted to. He could shoot. See, people forget Rodman could shoot. See, people just think because he stopped shooting, he can't shoot. No, he stopped shooting, so it opened up for other guys. When he was on the Spurs, I think Sean Elliott was playing during that time. He was trying to get him the ball. He was trying to get David Robinson the ball. David Robinson had an MVP season playing with Dennis Rodman. So the impact of defense to me is the reason teams win championships compared to a team that doesn't. I'm not talking about defense from the refs' help, like getting fouled and letting things go like that. I'm talking about pure defense where you're bodying a guy up. He's trying to complete his move. You're ripping the ball from him. You're manning up on him. There was no such thing as this two-way player crowd. Back in the day, that's back in the day. With Russell and them, that's back in the day. When Isaiah and them played, that's back then. So you got to understand your eras. Bill Russell dominated defensively and dominated as a leader of the team, as the sole head of the team. Because when Bill Russell didn't play, the games he got hurt, the Boston Celtics lost. So with all that talent, why did they lose? So that's what I'm saying. You got to look at things of that magnitude. And plus, during that time, it wasn't a lot of skewing the game or making this. Now, refs did make calls against black players to send a message to him that, yo, you got to back up, and just being rude like that. And then there were times that refs have made calls, if they accepted money, they could get paid off. They could get paid off. And see, that's the thing that we have to look at and understand when we're analyzing who's the greatest of all time or who's the best player to build around. To me, there's no such thing as a greatest player of all time. To me, it's the greatest team of all time. So that's what I'm saying. Like, Phil Jackson, to me, Phil Jackson was an overrated coach. So this doesn't change my opinion of him. But he shows you that Kobe and Michael, you would have to flip a damn coin to see who you would pick. And that's why I tell Michael Jordan fans, like, I don't know why y'all get mad when somebody picks Kobe over Mike, or you put Kobe up there with Mike, because Kobe was that damn good. I just think that he was always in our face, that we didn't appreciate him. We just basically saw him for what it is. And then you had some people who were turned off from him because he didn't do a lot for the black community. He wasn't out there advocating for Trayvon Martin. He said a line about Trayvon Martin, which rubbed black people the wrong way. So he was always, people didn't like him because of that. And then he married a Latina. So that also made black women not like him. Michael went to a Latina afterwards, but he was with a black woman first. So they're cool with that. They're like, oh, but he was with a black person. He was with a black woman. So it's like, all right, so we understand how women think. I think we all know now. So to me, you have to, you look at it and it's not upsetting if you pick Kobe over Mike or vice versa. Kobe Bryant revolutionized the game. He took what Michael left off and took it to another level. He got guys like Tatum, Wiggins, and a lot of guys, Jamal Murray, all of them are playing like Kobe. Dame Lillard playing like Kobe, handling the ball, taking the shot, not afraid of the consequences. Mamba mentality. That hits right there. That's tough. Even though there was a basketball player back in the day who was already called the Black Mamba, but that'll be another story another day, whether from me or from other content creators. But you have to look at this. Bill Russell was a great player. He wasn't flashy like Wilt. He wasn't as talented to me as Oscar. He wasn't the shooter Jerry West was. But the one thing that he had was intangibles. That stuff that doesn't show up on stat sheets. That extra play he made, that extra steal, that extra pass, that block, that box out and rebound. To go at Wilt Chamberlain, taking Wilt Chamberlain's bows, taking his strength. Wilt was strong. But Bill was just as strong. Bill was like he was holding his own. And that's what it takes to beat guys like a Wilt, a Oscar, and Jerry. You had to have that mindset, because Jerry was coming, Oscar was coming, Wilt was coming. They was finna come take you out. And less teams means more talent, great players that are around. These guys. They're around them to make sure that, all right, we could do this. We come together. We can win this game. So picking Bill Russell, there's nothing wrong with that. Saying that you have to flip a coin between Mike or Kobe, there's nothing wrong with that. And this was out of his mouth. I just played the video of him talking. So to me, if it was up to me, who would I start my team around? I would start my team around Kobe Bryant. That's what I would do. Now, people are going to say, oh, you're just saying that because he passed away, or, oh, you're a Kobe tard, or you this and that. No, it's not that. I was a fan of Latrell Sprewell and Allen Iverson and Damon when Kobe was out there playing. I just always had I always had a respect for Kobe. Like, it wasn't I liked him. It wasn't no fanatic. I'm not finna go buy his shoes and all this stuff. I don't do stuff like that. I just like the athlete. When they entertain me, I'm cool. I don't need to go out here about to kill somebody because they don't like what I like. I just never seen the point in that. So Kobe was balling out, and Kobe was out there killing. He was out there just crossing, doing dudes dirty. You know, especially against the Nuggets and the Jazz in the playoffs. Kobe did some things where it was like, this dude is unreal. You know, but he had his own style. He was shooting. He was shooting the fadeaway. He was shooting the three. You know, Kobe wasn't doing all those dunks and all those highlight plays anymore. He got older. But to see how he elevated his game, and his footwork is the most underrated piece of art in the NBA ever. They don't talk about it enough. And that's what they need to talk about. Kobe was just as good, if not better, than Michael Jordan. So I think we need to stop throwing the idea in the trash like, oh man, Kobe will never compare with Mike. And it's like, yeah, I understand. Because they're that's their guy. That's that 6-0 guy. He had a better career than Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant was the better player. He just was. And I know people ain't gonna agree, they're gonna dislike and go crazy. That's fine. But I just feel like we gotta look at this from another perspective. But thank you for listening. And in the comment section, I want you to give me your feedback on who would you start your team with. If you were going to start your franchise today, who would you start your team with? Me, I would start my team with Kobe, Hakeem, Rodman, Duncan, and Iverson. I would start my team with those 5 guys. If I ever wanted to choose one or just pick a guy, if I'm going to pick a guy, I'm picking Kobe Bryant to start my franchise with. That's what I'm doing. Let me know, who would you start your franchise with? Would it be Bill Russell? Do you agree with Phil Jackson that championships is the only criteria to being the best player ever? To me, I don't think so. I just think rings are more of a team sport, more of a collective team than just that one guy. That's just me personally. So I would never say this player is better than this player because he had rings. No, I'm going to say why he's better. And it's not going to be because of stats, because you guys read it too loosely. Y'all read it as if it matters, and it really doesn't. Because a guy who averages in the 50 percentile of scoring, he still is losing in the first round, second round, and third round. So I'm just saying, it's more to the game than stats. All right, and let me know in the comment section again. I know I keep asking the question. Write in the comment section, who would you start your team with to go for a championship? And Kobe and Mike, who would you pick? Let me know in the comment section. And if you want to donate to the page, you can cash at me at the word welcome, the number 2, and then HDIITV. And like I said, if you want to donate to the page, you can cash at me at the word welcome, the number 2, HDIITV. So thank you for listening, and we out. Live boy.